What if I told you that evil isn't just something out there, in monsters, in villains, in the night? No, it's inside us, woven into the very fabric of human nature. And right now, it might be stealing something from you. Not your soul, but your sleep. Because evil doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers. It's in the thoughts that slither into your mind at 2 a.m. The guilt, the regrets, the what-ifs, the chilling realization that you're not who you thought you were. And the deeper truth? You're not alone. Tonight, we descend into the abyss, not to fear it, but to understand it. Because once you see the darkness for what it really is, you can finally outsmart it and sleep like never before. This is the psychology of evil. Not as a force, but as a tool, a key. And by the end of this, you'll know how to lock the door or walk through it. Chapter 1. The Kindness of Monsters. When good hands feed the darkness, imagine a villa, not grand, but warm. Terracotta walls baked gold by the Mediterranean sun. A courtyard where lemon trees breathe sweetness into the dusk. Pompeii, 79 years before the mountain wept fire. And here, always here, lives Lucius. You'd know him by his hands, not soft, but gentle. Hands that rebuilt old man Marcellus's crumbling wall after the storm. Hands that placed coins in the palms of beggars shivering at the city gate. Hands that offered figs to children playing in the dust. Kindness was his name long before he owned it. And yet, beneath this sunlit world, beneath the lavender-scented rooms and mosaics of dancing nymphs, lay a cellar, cool, dark, damp as a tomb, and there, chains rusted. He never raised his voice, Lucius, never scowled. When merchants cheated him, he smiled. Fortune ebbs and flows, he'd murmur. But when the harvest failed, when debts coiled like vipers around his throat, when his daughter's dowry threatened to vanish like smoke, he'd walk down the stone stairs, alone, with a lamp and a knife. Necessity, he whispered to the shadows, not malice. The first time, a merchant from Neapolis who knew too much of his debts. Lucius served him wine, sweetened with honey, and regret. The man slept, forever, buried beneath the lemon trees, roots drinking crimson secrets. I protect my light, Lucius thought, washing his hands in a bronze basin. Rose petals floated on the water. For my family, for this peace. The kindness above fed the darkness below, like twin rivers, one sunlit, one subterranean, both flowing from the same source. Years passed. The villa prospered. His daughter married well. Beggars still blessed his name. And the cellar grew hungrier. A tax collector who demanded too much. A slave who saw the freshly turned earth near the lemon grove. A rival who threatened his trade routes. This small thing, he'd tell the moon through his window, hidden, is for the greater good. He'd recite it like a prayer. Without this darkness, the light dies. His hands, still gentle, lowered baskets of bread to the hungry, polished the platter that carried poisoned wine. Same hands, same soul. You might ask, how? How does kindness become the keeper of chains? It starts with a single compromise, small as a pebble dropped in a still pond. Just this once. For them, not for me. The world is cruel. I must be crueler to protect what's gentle. But the pebble sinks, and the ripples spread, until the boundary blurs, until the greater good becomes a hollow echo in a stone room, until the face in the mirror, the face of a kind man, stares back with eyes that no longer flinch at blood. Think of your own villa, dear listener, the life you've built, the walls of comfort, the garden of small kindnesses you tend so carefully. Now, listen. Beneath the floorboards of your conscience, beneath the rationalizations that feel like warm stones, do you hear it? The soft, relentless scrape of something buried, alive. We all have cellars. Yours may not hold chains. It might hold the lie you told to spare her feelings, the opportunity you stole from a rival to secure your future, the bitterness you nurse like a serpent beneath your ribs, whispering, they deserve your silence, your spite, your small, sharp revenge. This is the banquet of the monstrous, not served in dungeons, but in daylight, on fine plates, with clean hands. We feed the darkness morsels of our virtue. I'm a good parent, so I must hide this debt. I'm a loyal friend, so I'll keep her secret, though it poisons others. I deserve this happiness, even if I stepped on souls to reach it. Lucius's end came quietly, not from justice, not from guilt, but from Vesuvius itself, a roar that silenced all secrets. Ash filled his cellar, preserved his chains. His bones were found centuries later, arm curled around a small silver cup, still polished to a shine. The archaeologists murmured, a good man, beloved by his community. They never found the bones beneath the lemon trees. So tonight, as you drift, ask yourself, what small hungers do I feed in the dark? What necessary shadows protect my fragile light? The true horror isn't the monster in the pit. It's the gentle hands that lower the basket. Do not fear this truth. Hold it, like a cold pebble in your palm, for only when we acknowledge the cellar can we choose not to descend the stairs. Only when we see the chains can we refuse to forge new ones. Let your kindness flow untainted. Let your light burn without borrowed darkness. The world needs villas without graves beneath the lemon trees. Sleep now. But leave a candle burning in your heart, a vigil against the seductive whisper. Just this once. Chapter 2. The Monster in Your Mirror. The beloved shadow you call me, close your eyes. Not to sleep, not yet, but to look inward. Feel the quiet tide of your breath, in and out. Now, imagine standing before a mirror, not glass, not silver, but dark water, still, deep. A pool in a forgotten cave within your own chest. Lean closer. Who gazes back? We carry a portrait, you see, not hung in a gallery, not framed in gold, but tucked away, in the attic of the soul. Dusty, slightly crooked, watching. It's not the face of a snarling beast, not claws or fangs or scales. No, this portrait is familiar, terribly intimately known. It's the face of the child who lied flawlessly. Remember? That broken vase. I don't know, Mother. Truly I don't. The words slipped out, smooth as river stones. The relief and the cold thrill of power. You got away with it. It's the face of the friend who nurtured a secret envy. Her promotion, her joy, your smile. Genuine, almost. But beneath, a tiny green vine twisting. Why her? Why not me? You watered it, just a drop, in the dark. It's the face of the lover who crafted a small cruelty. Wrapped in a sigh. Oh, that shirt. It's interesting. Watching the light dim slightly in their eyes, a flicker of satisfaction, control, just for a moment. We call this portrait, not me. That wasn't the real me. I was tired. I was hurt. I was young. We push it deeper into the attic, shut the door, padlock it with good deeds and bright intentions. We polish the mirror of our self-image and refuse to look into the dark water. But here's the secret the ancient ones knew. The secret whispered in the dark temples of Delphi. Know thyself. It wasn't just about the sunlit meadows of the soul. It was a descent, a slow walk down moss-slicked steps, into the cellar, into the cave, to stand before the dark pool, to meet that gaze, ignoring it, pretending the attic is empty, feeds it. In the darkness of denial, the portrait grows. Its whispers become your own unexamined impulses, that sharp retort you didn't mean to say, that gossip that felt so delicious, that tiny betrayal you instantly justified. Its face begins to blur into yours in moments of stress, of fear, of bone-deep exhaustion. You catch a glimpse, a flicker of coldness in your own eyes, a twist of the mouth you don't recognize, and yet you do, deeply, tonight, in this quiet. Look, not with judgment, not with shame, but with curiosity, with the gentle courage of an explorer. Step closer to the dark water within. See the face looking back, the liar, the envier, the secret wielder of tiny cruelties. Say it softly. I see you. This isn't embracing evil. This is disarming it. Think of a shadow cast by candlelight, grotesque, threatening, until you turn and see it's just the shape of your own hand. The moment you recognize it, the fear melts. It becomes simply your hand. The monster in your mirror, it becomes the child who learned lying felt safer than punishment, the friend who feared she wasn't enough, the lover who felt powerless and grasped for control. Human, fragile, flawed, just like the rest of you. This portrait isn't your enemy. Your ignorance of it is. Denying it gives it power. Acknowledging it brings it into the light of your awareness, where it loses its fangs. Its scales soften. Its cold gaze warms into something sorrowful, something understandable. This is integration, not condoning, not excusing, but including. Weaving this dark thread back into the tapestry of your being, making the pattern whole. The greatest armor against the outer darkness, knowing the shape of the darkness within. Because when you meet cruelty in the world, when you see hatred, pettiness, coldness in others, you won't recoil in self-righteous horror. You'll recognize the portrait they've locked in their attic. You'll see the scared child, the wounded friend, the powerless lover, just like yours. And with that recognition comes compassion, not weakness, clarity. So tonight, as you drift, visit the attic, open the door. Don't flinch from the dusty frame. Look at the portrait. Really look. Say the words again, gently. I see you. Notice the tension ease in your shoulders, in your jaw, deep in your belly. A sigh you've been holding for years. You are not two, not the good self and the bad self. You are one, complex, contradictory, beautifully human being. The monster in the mirror? It's just your shadow, longing to be seen, longing to come home. Sleep now, holding this truth like a smooth, dark stone, warm from your touch. The shadow is part of the landscape. It makes the light meaningful. You are not less for seeing it. You are more. Complete. Forgiven. Free. Rest deeply, knowing thyself. All of thyself. The moon outside watches. With the same quiet compassion, you now offer your own reflection in the dark water. Chapter 3. The banality of the beautiful. How aesthetics mask the abyss. Picture a crystal glass, not just any glass. Perfect, cut by a master's hand in Prague centuries ago. Held up to a window at dawn, it catches the light and fractures it, shatters the sun into 100 dancing rainbows. Breathtaking, you'd swear it held captured starlight. Now, imagine it filled, not with wine, not with water, but with hemlock, clear, odorless, deadly. The rainbows still dance. The crystal still sings when a fingernail taps its edge. It is no less beautiful. It is simply a vessel for oblivion. We are bewitched by beauty, you see. Seduced, we lower our guard. We trust the surface. How could anything so perfect be wrong? History whispers a secret chilling as frost on a rose petal. The deepest horrors often wear the finest silks. Forget grim dungeons, dripping with despair. Think instead of a sunlit salon, high ceilings painted with cherubs, the air fragrant with bergamot and beeswax, delicate porcelain cups clinking. Philosophers in velvet coats debate, not art or love, but the necessary calculus of suffering. Sacrifices must be made, murmurs one, tracing the gilded rim of his saucer, for the purity of the state, for the grand design. Outside the window, distant smoke rises from the sanitation facility, an aesthetic solution to an unsightly problem. The porcelain doesn't crack. The conversation flows, smooth and cultured, like poisoned honey. Think of the death camp, not as a place of chaos, but of terrible order. Barracks aligned with geometric precision, lawns mowed with military exactness, bureaucratic forms filled in perfect script, name, date, number, destination, Arbeit macht frei, arched gracefully over the gate. Work sets you free. The horror wasn't just the killing, it was the efficiency, the cleanliness, the chilling beauty of the system. It made the unthinkable thinkable, palatable, almost admirable. Think of the cult leader, not wild-eyed and ranting, but eyes like deep mountain lakes, holding impossible serenity, a voice like melted chocolate, promising transcendence, his words, poetry, his vision, a tapestry of unity and light. Followers flock, drawn by the beauty of the promise, the beauty of his presence. They don't see the abyss beneath the still water. They see perfection, and perfection demands surrender. Drink, he smiles, offering the crystal glass. It is pure, it is light. The hemlock tastes like nectar when offered by a beautiful hand. This is the banality of the beautiful, the anesthetic of aesthetics. Beauty doesn't just please the eye, it suspends the moral sense. It whispers, look at the form, not the function. Admire the execution, ignore the horror being executed. Trust the hand that creates such loveliness. A dictator's speech isn't just words of hate, it's a symphony of national purity. Sonnet-like rhythms, soaring crescendos of belonging, the ugliness of exclusion, wrapped in the gorgeous flag of unity. A predatory ideology isn't presented as monstrous, but as a shining city on a hill, a flawless equation for human happiness. The cracks in the logic? Minor imperfections in an otherwise perfect gem. We forgive the flaws because the vision is so beautiful. We polish the lie until it shines. We frame the cruelty in gold leaf. We build the gallows from polished oak and marvel at the craftsmanship. Think of your own life, drifting soul. What beautiful things hold your gaze? The charismatic speaker whose logic feels flawless, the pristine ideology promising simple solutions, the perfect plan that sweeps aside messy human costs, the alluring image of a life that demands you erase inconvenient parts of yourself. It's so clean, you whisper. So elegant, so right. Look deeper. Ask not just, is it beautiful? But, what does this beauty serve? What ugliness does it mask? Whose suffering polishes this perfection? The siren song of the beautiful is the most dangerous, because it appeals to our highest selves, to ensnare our deepest vulnerabilities. It offers transcendence, and delivers oblivion. It promises purity and demands annihilation of the impure. That flawless argument online that silence is dissent? Listen, does its beauty hide the cold steel of dehumanization? That curated life you covet on the screen? Look closer. Does its perfection erase the messy, beautiful chaos of authentic existence? That leader whose vision feels like dawn breaking? Step back. Does the light around them cast everything else into necessary shadow? The ancient Greeks knew the danger. They gave us Pandora, not delivered in a rough crate, but a jar of exquisite craftsmanship, or a box in later tellings. Seductively beautiful, irresistible, its very loveliness was the temptation. The vessel was the trap, and we keep opening it. So tonight, as the moonlight paints silver patterns on your wall, practice seeing through the shine. Admire the crystal glass and ask what it holds. Marvel at the flawless logic and ask whose voice it silences. Be moved by the beautiful vision and count its invisible graves. True sight isn't cynical, it's courageous. It dares to love beauty without being blinded by it. It dares to see the cup and question the wine. The abyss wears many disguises, but the most treacherous? A crown of stars. The most insidious poison, served in the most exquisite cup. Sleep now, but let your dreams be vigilant. Trust beauty, but trust your questioning heart more. The world needs those who admire the crystal and refuse the hemlock. Chapter 4. The Echo Chamber of the Damned. How whispers become a roar. Begin. Not with a shout, but with a sigh. A single breath of doubt. Stifled. Picture a place forgotten by maps. Hollow Creek. A town square paved with worn cobblestones. Sunlight dapples through ancient oaks. The smell of baking bread from Mistress Alara's oven. The comfortable murmur of everyday life. Then, a whisper. Small. Ugly. Have you seen the herbs old Agnes grows by the twisted oak? Nightshade, some say. Mandrake root. She speaks to the crows, calls them by name. It slips from lips at the well, lingers, like wood smoke. One person, Mistress Alara herself, stops leaving baskets of bread at Agnes's gate. Just being careful, she tells the flower-dusted air. It's probably nothing. Then, old Tom, the cobbler. He avoids Agnes's eyes at the solstice gathering, looks through her, as if she's made of smoke. Best not encourage, whatever she is. Then, the miller's family. They pull their children back when Agnes walks by, herbs clutched in her gnarled hand. Best be safe, the miller murmurs to his wife. Where there's smoke. No accusation is shouted, no evidence sought. Just silence, where friendly words used to be, where shared smiles lived. A space opens around Agnes, not violent, vacant. The absence of hello becomes a wall. This silence, it isn't empty, it's fertile. Thick as river fog, it rolls in, watered by tiny droplets. It's not my place to say. Surely someone knows the truth. I don't want trouble. Better safe than sorry. It grows, feeds on apathy, on the fear of standing alone, on the desperate human craving to belong, to the group, to the consensus, to the silence. The echo chamber isn't built with bricks of hate. It's built with the hollow stones of compromise, laid one by hands that feel clean. Agnes's gate hangs crooked, her garden withers, weeds choke the path. Still, no one speaks. The silence deepens, becomes permission, one cold twilight. A stone arcs from the deepening shadows. Crack shatters Agnes's kitchen window, a single sharp punctuation mark in the fog of silence. Then, another thud, Against her door, another, crack, on the roof tiles, not thrown by a raging mob, not yet, thrown by hands hidden in pockets, by figures half seen at the edge of the square. Individuals, each thinking, well, someone must know something. Surely they wouldn't throw a stone without reason. It's not me starting it. The crowd gathers, not baying for blood, not yet, just present. A collective witness, their silence, louder than the stones. Their silence is the next stone. This is the echo chamber of the damned. Its architecture is shared complicity. It's the playground, where one child is pushed, then tripped, then mocked, and the others watch, say nothing, laugh weakly. Just don't be next. Their silence feeds the bully's power, makes the victim invisible. It's the office corridor, where the joke isn't funny. It's cruel, aimed at her, at him, and you. Look down, at your shoes, at the report in your hand. Silent. Not my department. HR will handle it. I need this job. Your silence polishes the cruelty, makes it acceptable. It's the family dinner, where the prejudice drips like poison from a beloved mouth. Well, you know how those people are. And you pass the salt, change the subject. Silent. Don't ruin the meal. They're from a different time. Your silence embroiders the hatred, makes it respectable. The terrifying mathematics, drifting soul, one stifled objection, the sigh at the well. One stifled objection, the averted gaze at the solstice. One stifled objection, the shuffled feet in the corridor. The Holocaust, the witch trials, the lynching tree, the broken child, the sum is always a roaring fire of collective wrongdoing. Fueled not by the flames of individual hatred, but by the kindling of 1,000 small silences. Evil doesn't always march. It seeps through the cracks of "not my problem," through the mortar of "I don't want to get involved." It grows in the fertile soil of communal cowardice. Hollow Creek didn't burn Agnes. Not literally. Not that night. They found her in the morning, curled inside her broken door, not dead, broken, her herbs scattered, her crows. Silent in the twisted oak, the townsfolk avoided the square for days, muttered about a shame. Tragic. Who could have done such a thing? As if the stones fell from the sky, as if the silence hadn't been theirs. The fog remained, thicker, colder, ready for the next whisper and the next stifled sigh. So tonight, as the world outside hushes, listen to the echoes you carry. Recall the whisper you let pass, because it was easier. The unfairness you saw and pretended not to. The collective sigh you joined to belong. Ask yourself, where was my voice? What stone did my silence add to the pile? What fog did my apathy thicken? This isn't about grand gestures. It's about micro-courage, the breath before the sigh, the moment when the crowd's silence starts to congeal, and you feel the cold weight of it on your tongue. That moment is a threshold. Step across it. Say the dangerous thing. That joke isn't funny. Why do you say that about them? Stop. I see you. To the victim, not the bully. No. Your voice, even if it shakes, even if it's small, is a dagger through the fog. It lets in light. It shows others. You are not alone in seeing this. It reminds the Agnes in the room. She exists. The loudest voice in the room is often the absence of your own. True courage isn't just facing the monster. It's breaking the silence that allows the monster to grow. It's refusing to let the comfortable fog smother your conscience. You won't always win, The stones might still fly. The fog might feel impenetrable, but you will have done the sacred thing. Refused complicity. Refused to let your breath become part of the suffocating silence. You will have been human, fully, courageously, alive. Sleep now, but carry this resolve into your dreams, to hear the whispers and question them, to see the averted gaze and meet it with your own, to feel the collective sigh and breathe out a different word. The echo chamber only holds power if we agree to be its walls, be the crack, be the draft, be the voice that reminds the world. Silence is not peace. It is the architect of damnation. Rest, but let your spirit remain vigilant. The world needs fewer echoes and more brave, quiet no's whispered into the gathering dark. Chapter 5. The Seed of Cruelty. Why every saint holds a sleeping serpent beneath the vaulted ceiling of your noblest aspiration. Deep in the fertile soil of your most tender compassion lies a seed, small, hard, dark as a forgotten pupil. It doesn't pulse, it doesn't writhe, it simply is. The seed of cruelty, not cartoonish malice, not the bared fangs of a beast, but the quiet, cold potential for indifference, sharp enough to cut, for dismissal, heavy enough to crush, for the subtle, precise inflection that twists a word into a shiv. Think of the kindest soul you know. Sister Anya, perhaps, who held the hands of the dying in the plague wards, whose voice never rose above a murmur, whose eyes held oceans of patience. Now, picture her pushed, really pushed. 3 sleepless nights tending the feverish. The smell of death, thick as wool in her nostrils. Her own body, aching like old timber. A novice spills precious medicine. The last vial, onto the filthy floor. For 1 heartbeat, less than a heartbeat. A flicker crosses Anya's face. Not anger. Something colder. A glacial dismissal. A look that says, you are less than the dust. It's gone as quickly. Replaced by a weary sigh, a trembling hand on the novice's shoulder. It's all right, child. Fetch the mop. But the seed, stirred. This seed germinates not in the hearts of monsters. It finds root in the sacred ground of the stressed, frightened, exhausted, wounded, human. We imagine evil as a foreign invader, a possession, a demon riding the soul. But the ancient Stoics whispered a truth that chills and frees. No soul is willingly deprived of truth. Cruelty is often a misdirected cry, a scream from a fractured place within. The playground bully wasn't born a void. He was carved by the chisel of his father's contempt. His fists are clumsy translations of the love he never received. Hurt people, hurt people. The friend's cutting remark, that barb about your unfinished project, it's rarely about you. It's the venom of her own secret shame. The project she abandoned, spraying outwards, a shield against her own perceived inadequacy. The parent's harsh tone at bedtime, not hatred for the restless child, but the echo of burdens too heavy, debts, regrets, loneliness, crashing through the dam of exhaustion, a drowning person, snapping at the hands trying to pull them up. This isn't excuse, it's explanation. It's the terrifying, liberating dismantling of the wall. The line between us and them is gossamer. A breath could tear it. The saint carries the serpent. It sleeps, coiled beneath her robes of compassion. The sinner holds a spark of the divine. It flickers, stubborn, in the ash of his choices. Recognizing the seed within isn't admitting defeat. It's claiming the ultimate defense. So when you feel it, that cold hardness rising like groundwater. In the traffic jam, engines snarling. In the heat of an argument, words like knives waiting. In the face of need that feels like too much. Pause. One sacred breath. Name it. Softly, internally. Ah, the seed. Just that. This simple act is sunlight. It is the gentle light of awareness falling on the dormant thing. This naming prevents the seed from blooming unseen. It creates space, a sliver of air between the feeling and the action. In that space, you choose. Do you water the seed? Feed it with justification. They deserve my coldness. I'm justified in my fury. Just this once. Or do you turn your attention to the garden around it? The garden of patience, the garden of breath, the garden of what pain is this really about? The garden of what does this moment truly need? You choose to nurture compassion for them, for yourself. The seed may never vanish. It is part of the human inheritance, a fossil carried from darker ages, a potential, but its power withers in the steady light of your conscious awareness. It becomes a curiosity, a relic, not a ruler. Your kindness isn't naivete. It becomes a fierce act of gardening, tending the soil around the seed, watering the flowers that choke its growth, patience, understanding, forgiveness, boundaries. The seed remains, but the garden flourishes, riotous, alive, beautiful. Sleep now, not fearing the seed within, but knowing its name. Feel the solid warmth of your own hand, resting on your heart. That hand is capable of gentle touch, and yes, of a fist. Both belong to you. The serpent sleeps in every saint. The saint whispers in every sinner. You are not defined by the seed, but by the garden you tend, by the light of awareness you shine, by the choices you make in the space between the stir of the serpent and the opening of its eyes. Rest deeply in the profound peace of sober self-knowledge. You are human, gloriously, tragically, powerfully, enough. The light you hold is brighter than the seed is dark. The garden you grow is vaster than the seed is small. Sleep, and let compassion be your softest armor, your quietest strength, your most sacred tending. Chapter 6. The Hummingbird that drank from the poisoned stream. When kindness feeds the monster. The fire crackles low, a heartbeat of amber in the deep blue dark. Outside the world is hushed, just you and this quiet space, and perhaps a question that curls like smoke at the edge of sleep. Have you ever watered a weed, thinking it a flower? Have you ever offered your gentlest self to something that craved only your surrender? We build monuments to monstrous evils, forgetting they rarely begin with a roar. They begin with a hum, a tiny, insistent vibration. The hummingbird drawn to the shimmering stream, unaware of the slow poison seeping from the roots upstream. Its thirst is pure, its intention golden, but the stream has been changed. This is the hidden alchemy of darkness. Its ability to twist the purest elements, our compassion, our desire to help, our refusal to see malice where we wish to see only need. Think of the parent shielding the cruel child, excusing the harm as pain. Think of the community embracing the charismatic soul who whispers division, dressed as unity. Think of the nation feeding the demagogue with its own fear, mistaking his hunger for strength. We offer nectar to the hummingbird, but the stream it drinks from, we poisoned it with our silence, our unwillingness to name the rot, our desperate hope that kindness alone can cure a sickness born of malice. We mistake the symptom for the cure, The monster doesn't always demand blood sacrifice. Sometimes it simply asks for our silence, wrapped in the guise of understanding. It asks us to see its poison as confusion, its cruelty as a cry for help. And we, hummingbirds of the heart, flutter closer, offering our sweetness. But the poison works slowly. It doesn't kill the hummingbird outright. It dims its iridescence. It slows its wings. It makes the world seem grayer, heavier, until one day the hummingbird forgets the taste of pure water. It forgets the purpose of its wings. It only knows the stream. This is the seduction. This is the quiet tragedy. Evil rarely needs to conquer the strong outright. It merely needs the good to become accommodating, to blur the lines just a little, to whisper, perhaps they didn't mean it. Perhaps it's not so bad. Perhaps I can fix them. And with each sip of that justification, the poison spreads. Not just in the hummingbird, but in the very soil the stream flows through. The cost? It's the slow erosion of our own light, the dulling of our moral compass, the quiet acceptance of the unacceptable, because confronting it feels unkind. We lose the sharp, clean edge of truth. We lose the courage to say, this is poison, step away. We become gardeners, nurturing the very thorns that choke the blossoms. The peace we seek, the deep restorative peace of a clear conscience, of boundaries honored, of truth spoken gently but firmly. That peace withers in the shadow of our misplaced compassion. It is replaced by a low hum of unease, a constant background radiation of knowing we are complicit in the slow drip, drip, drip of the poison. We traded the sharp sting of confrontation for the slow ache of compromise. But here, in the quiet, listen. There is another way. It doesn't require becoming cruel. It demands becoming clear-eyed. It asks us to see the stream for what it truly is, to protect the hummingbird, our own fragile goodness, not by denying its thirst, but by guiding it fiercely towards pure springs. It means learning the difference between tending a wound and feeding a parasite. It means understanding that sometimes the kindest cut is the cleanest one. The kindest word is no. Protecting the light within us sometimes means refusing to let it be used to illuminate the darkness's work. So tonight, as sleep draws near, ask your quiet heart, where is my hummingbird sipping? Is it drinking life or a slow surrender? Protecting your light isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the first vital step in cleansing the stream for everyone. Let that clarity be your lullaby, a gentle resolve whispered on the edge of dreams, a vow to guard your nectar for the true blossoms. The fire glows softly. The poison loses its power in this acknowledgement. Rest now. Your kindness is precious. Guard its source. The echoes of that poisoned stream fade, but another sound drifts in, softer, stickier. Can you hear it? The faint, almost forgotten taste of something sweet turning sour on the tongue, leading us down a darker, more intimate path. Chapter 7. Did your first lie taste like honey or ash? The seduction of the tiny betrayal. Hush now. Let the darkness hold you, not the frightening kind, but the velvet kind. The kind where secrets feel safe to surface. And here's a secret we all share, whispered on the breath of memory. We all lied. Not the big, world-shattering ones. Not yet. The first one, the tiny one. The pebble dropped into the still pond of our innocence. Can you remember it? Close your eyes. Drift back. What color was it? Was it to avoid a scolding? To claim a praise you hadn't quite earned? To spare a feeling or to steal a moment of undeserved grace? Now, Recall the taste, not the words, but the feeling as it left you. Was it warm honey, spreading golden relief? A sweet rush of power, of control, of shaping the world to your will? Or was it cold ash, gritty and bitter, coating your tongue with the first faint tang of shame? That first lie is the threshold, the moment we step from the sunlit meadow of simple truth into the dappled, shifting shadows of the self we construct. It's rarely born of malice, that first step. Often, it's a flinch, a fear, a desperate grab for love, for safety, for an easier path. But oh, the seduction. If it tasted like honey, that sweetness is a lure. It whispers, "See, it's easy, it works. The world bends to this." That honey is the bait on the hook of corruption. It promises comfort, reward, escape. And we, small creatures learning the world's weight, take the bait, again and again. The lies grow, not necessarily bigger at first, just more frequent, more comfortable. They weave a cocoon around us, a second skin separating our inner truth from the outer face we show. We become architects of facades. And the honey, it starts to cloy. It loses its sweetness. We need more lies, more intricate ones, to sustain the illusion, to chase that fading rush of control. The relief becomes thinner, the anxiety beneath it thicker. That's the ash, the creeping residue, the silent, gnawing knowledge of the fracture within, the self-betrayal. We lie to others, yes, but the deepest cut is the lie we tell ourselves. It doesn't matter. It's harmless. I had no choice. We build our cage with golden bars of falsehood, whispering it's a throne. The threat isn't hellfire. It's the slow suffocation of authenticity. It's the growing distance between who we are and who we pretend to be. It's the exhaustion of maintaining the edifice. The peace we sacrifice is the peace of wholeness, the deep, resonant calm of being exactly who you are, where you are, without the frantic inner choreography of concealment. It's the peace of looking in the mirror and meeting your own eyes without flinching. That peace feels like cool water after the cloying honey, like clean air after breathing ash. The reward for confronting the tiny betrayals? It's not saintliness. It's sovereignty. It's reclaiming the territory of your own soul, inch by painful inch. It's the immense quiet strength of having nothing to hide, even from yourself. It's the lightness of being undivided. It begins with honesty so small it seems insignificant. The I don't know, the I was wrong, the I'm afraid, the I need help. These are not admissions of weakness, but declarations of a profound reclaiming strength. They are pebbles dropped back into the pond, but this time creating ripples of integrity that spread outward, smoothing the fractured surface. So tonight, in this forgiving dark, revisit that first pebble, not to judge the child who dropped it, lost or scared or craving sweetness, but to offer that memory, understanding. See the honey for the trap it became. Taste the ash as the warning it truly is, and then let it go. You are not defined by that first step into shadow. You are defined by every step you choose to take back towards your own authentic light. The next time the sweet, sticky temptation rises, pause. Remember the ash beneath the honey. Choose the clean, clear water of truth. It may feel harder at first, but it leads to a deeper, sweeter, more enduring peace. A peace that doesn't crumble, a peace that sings you to sleep. Let that song begin now, a gentle exhale of truth, a release of the old facade. Rest in the simple, profound comfort of being here, just you. No mask required. The darkness embraces the real. The echo of that unmasked sigh lingers, a vulnerability exposed. And in that tender space, a different question arises. not about the lies we tell, but the truths we cling to, the strangely comforting truths that bind us even in chains. Chapter 8. The Prisoner Who Loved His Cage. The comforting embrace of our own villainy. The night deepens, a soft blanket around your thoughts. Let them drift. Drift towards a peculiar kind of comfort. Not the warmth of a hearth, but the familiar chill of stone. Imagine a prison cell. Dank, dark, the air thick with resignation. Now imagine the prisoner inside. Not rattling the bars in fury. Not plotting escape, but in stroking the cold iron, finding a strange solace in its unyielding presence. Whispering, perhaps, "This is safe. This is known. This is mine." Does it seem impossible? Unthinkable? Yet, we all have our cages. Not of iron, but of story. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, why we fail, why we hurt, why we must be small or angry or perpetually wronged. I'm just a victim. People always betray me. I'm not meant for happiness. I'm fundamentally broken. The world is too cruel. These narratives, they are our cages. And sometimes, perversely, we grow fond of them. We polish the bars of resentment until they gleam. We find a bitter comfort in the certainty of our own limitations, our own role as the wounded one, the wronged one, the one perpetually in shadow. Why? Because the cage, however cold, offers a terrible kind of safety. It absolves us. If we are the prisoner, we are not responsible for the world outside the bars. We don't have to risk the terrifying uncertainty of freedom. We don't have to face the possibility that we could be different, could choose differently, could step into a light that might at first feel blindingly harsh. Embracing our own villainy, or our own victimhood, which is often just villainy turned inward, becomes a shield, a predictable script. We know our lines. See what they did to me? See how hard I have it? This is just who I am. It's easier to be the tragic figure, the misunderstood antagonist in our own life story, than to face the daunting, exhilarating task of being the hero. The hero must act, must choose, must risk failure, vulnerability, and the terrifying responsibility of their own power. The prisoner in the loved cage? They only have to endure. And in that endurance, they find a twisted sense of identity, even pride. Look how strong I am, surviving this. But it's the strength of the fossil, not the flower. The cost of loving our cage is the slow death of possibility. It's the muffling of our own heartbeat, the dimming of our own potential light. We sacrifice the vast, starlit sky of what could be for the cramped, familiar darkness of what is. We trade the messy, unpredictable beauty of growth for the sterile safety of stagnation. The peace we forfeit is the dynamic peace of agency, the profound calm that comes not from absence of struggle, but from knowing you are in the struggle, choosing your path, wielding your own power. It's the peace of the open field after the suffocating cell. Cold wind, yes. Uncertainty, yes. But also space, air, the potential for dawn, the reward for unlatching the cage. It's not guaranteed happiness. It's vitality. It's the raw, sometimes painful thrum of being truly alive. It's the discovery that the villain, the victim, they were roles you played, not the essence of who you are. Beneath that story is a being capable of so much more. Compassion that isn't weakness, strength that isn't cruelty, joy that isn't denial. It starts by noticing the bars, feeling the cold metal you've been stroking, asking softly, does this story truly serve me, or does it just comfort me? It takes courage to release the familiar narrative, even if it's painful, because the familiar, however awful, is known. But the unknown holds your true name, your potential, your freedom. Tonight, as sleep beckons, acknowledge the cage. Touch its bars, feel the cold comfort they offer. And then, imagine the lock, not a fortress lock, but a simple latch. On the inside, your hand rests upon it. You don't have to throw it open tonight. Not yet. Just know it's there. Know the choice is yours. The prisoner who loved his cage, he forgot he held the key. You haven't forgotten. Feel its weight, cool, solid, real. Rest now, not as a prisoner resigned, but as a soul gathering strength. The cage door waits, and beyond it, starlight. Let that possibility be your gentle anchor into dreams. The scent of open air, cool and vast, drifts in from that imagined threshold, carrying with it a different kind of howl, not of threat, but of a misunderstood longing, a call from the very darkness we've locked away. Chapter 9. What if the wolf howled only to warn the lambs? Reclaiming the monsters under our skin. Silence settles, deep and soft as fallen snow. In this quiet, listen, not just with your ears, but with the older parts of you, the parts that remember caves and campfires. Can you hear it? A distant howl, not the snarl of the hunt, but a long, mournful note hanging in the velvet dark. We've been taught to flinch, to see the wolf only as fang and fury, the monster, the shadow in the woods. But what if that howl isn't hunger? What if it's a lament, a warning cry carried on the night wind? What if the darkness we fear within ourselves, the snarling beast we try so hard to chain, is not our enemy, but a lost protector speaking a language we've forgotten? We exile our shadows, our rage, our primal instincts, our fierce territoriality, our raw, untamed grief. We label them evil, monstrous, unacceptable, and lock them in the deepest dungeons of our psyche. We starve them, beat them, deny their very existence. And then, we wonder why they rattle the bars so violently, why they erupt in dreams of teeth and falling, why they twist our kindness into passive aggression, our boundaries into walls of ice, our passion into destructive fire. We mistake the symptom for the disease. The disease is disowning. The symptom is the howl of the exiled protector. That rage, it might be the furious roar of boundaries shattered one too many times, finally demanding to be heard. That primal fear, it might be the ancient radar screaming danger when our polite mind is busy ignoring the gut feeling. That fierce possessiveness, it might be the deep biological drive to protect what we love most, distorted by neglect. The wolf isn't evil, it's wild, and wildness, untamed and unacknowledged, becomes destructive. It howls in the only way it knows how. The threat is not the wolf. The threat is refusing to listen, refusing to learn its language. The threat is the civil war within, where one part of us wages battle against another, draining our energy, fracturing our peace. The cost is wholeness. We walk as half beings, severed from our own vital power, terrified of the storm we carry inside. The peace we crave lies not in slaying the wolf, but in understanding it, in reclaiming it, in bringing it in from the cold. Imagine sitting by your inner fire, not with chains, but with respect, turning to the shadowed corner where the wolf paces and saying, softly, I hear you, not condoning its violence, but seeking its source. What are you trying to protect me from? What pain do you carry? What boundary must be honored? This is not easy. It requires courage to face the parts of ourselves we've been taught to despise. It requires the patience of a shaman, not the wrath of a warrior. But the reward is integration. It's the fierce loyalty of the wolf harnessed to guard your true self. It's the raw power of your instincts aligned with your conscious purpose. It's the deep, resonant grief that, when fully felt, cleanses like rain, leaving compassion in its wake. It's transforming the howl of anguish into a song of fierce, protective love. It's knowing your own strength, not as a weapon, but as a presence. The monster under the skin becomes the guardian at the gate. The darkness becomes fertile soil. The lambs aren't threatened by this reclaimed wolf. They are sheltered by its understanding of the true darkness that does prowl. Tonight, as you drift, don't fear the howl within. Listen for it. Deep beneath the civilized surface, beneath the fear. What is your wolf trying to say? What ancient wisdom, what fierce love, what vital warning have you exiled? Offer it not a cage, but a place by the fire, not dominance, but dialogue. Reclaim your wholeness. The monster was only ever a misunderstood protector. Let its integration be your lullaby, a song of strength reclaimed, a peace born of inner truce. Rest deeply. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. The wolf rests its head on your hearth. The night is quiet, safe. That sense of inner sanctuary, of the wildness finding its rightful place. It leaves a quiet strength, but strength untended, wisdom unshared. How does the gentle current become complicit in the coming flood? A final, softer question now. Chapter 10. The Gentle Art of Drowning. Quietly, why good people cultivate the soil for evil seeds. The deepest quiet now, the kind where thoughts float like feathers, no struggle, just settling. And in this stillness, consider water. Not a crashing wave, but a still pond. Silent, placid. A lily pad floats, a dragonfly skims the surface. All seem peaceful. Beneath, unseen, something sinks. Slowly, silently. Not fighting, not gasping, just yielding to the depths. This is the gentle art of drowning quietly, and it is perhaps the most insidious way good people prepare the ground for the weeds of darkness to flourish. Evil rarely bursts forth fully formed. It germinates. It needs fertile soil. And what is more fertile than the silence of the good, the averted gaze, the murmured excuse, the weary sigh that says, "What can I do?" The comforting lie we tell ourselves, "It's not my problem. I don't want to cause trouble. Someone else will speak up." We mistake quietness for peace. We mistake non-confrontation for harmony. We mistake the absence of our own struggle for safety. But this quietness isn't peace. It's surrender. A slow, comfortable sinking into apathy. We cultivate the soil with our indifference. We water the seeds with our silence. We offer them the sunlight of our inaction. Think of the neighbor who turns up the TV to drown out the shouts next door. The colleague who laughs awkwardly at the cruel joke. The citizen who shrugs at the erosion of rights, thinking it won't touch them. The friend who stays silent when another is maligned. We are not wielding the axe. We are merely sharpening it by looking away. We are not lighting the fire of hatred. We are merely refusing to dampen the first whispering sparks. We drown quietly in our own comfort, our own fear of rocking the boat, our own desire to believe the best while ignoring the worst. We cultivate the illusion that our little pond is separate from the raging ocean. But water connects everything. The cost of this quiet drowning is the world we inherit. It's the slow creep of the unacceptable becoming normal. It's the erosion of decency, brick by apathetic brick. It's the profound unease of knowing, deep down, that we traded our moral courage for a false, fragile comfort. We sacrifice the vibrant, demanding peace of engagement, the peace that comes from standing firm in your values, from speaking truth with kindness, from actively tending the garden of community, for the stagnant peace of the undisturbed surface. It's the peace of the grave. The reward for breaking the surface? It's not martyrdom. It's integrity in action. It's the clear, cold shock of air in your lungs when you finally speak the necessary word. Make the uncomfortable choice. Extend the hand into the troubled water. It's the connection forged with others who are also choosing not to drown quietly. It's the fierce, quiet joy of knowing you are tending the soil for blossoms, not thorns. It doesn't require grand heroics. It demands small, persistent acts of courage. The gentle but firm no. The quiet, that's not okay. The open ear offered instead of a turned back. The vote cast, the hand raised. The simple act of not looking away. It means tending your own pond, your family, your community, your sphere of influence, with vigilant kindness and unwavering respect for truth. It means understanding that silence, in the face of wrong, is not neutrality. It's consent. Tonight, as you float on the edge of sleep, feel the water around you. Is it buoying you, or are you sinking? Are you tending the garden, or merely admiring the lilies while the roots rot beneath? The gentle art is a choice. You can choose to float, silent, towards the depths, or you can choose to move. A single ripple breaks the stillness. A single word shatters the complicit silence. A single hand reaching out can pull another back from the brink. Your voice, however soft, is an anchor. Your action, however small, is a lifeline. You are not powerless against the dark seeds. You are the gardener. Tend your soil with courage. Break the surface. Breathe the clear air of active good. Let that breath be your lullaby, a gentle resolve, a quiet promise to the world and to yourself. You will not drown quietly. You will tend the light. Rest now, not in apathy, but in the deep calm of knowing your ripples matter. The pond is still, but beneath the surface, a current of quiet courage begins to flow. Sleep, gardener of the good. Tend your dreams. Chapter 11. The Soft Rot. How kindness becomes the soil where cruelty grows. Have you ever wondered if the most terrible acts aren't born in rage, but in the warm, comfortable silence of looking away? Imagine a garden, lush and green, tended with care. Yet beneath the surface, unseen, a single root begins to soften, to decay. It doesn't scream its betrayal. It just ceases to hold. Tonight, let's wander into that quiet space where good intentions turn porous, where the line between gentle neglect and complicity blurs like twilight, a place far more unsettling than any monster's lair. What happens when our very comfort becomes the cradle for shadows we refuse to name? Think of a man named Elias, not a villain from a fable, but a bookbinder in a city humming with ordinary life. His hands, stained with ink and glue, were known for their gentleness, mending torn pages, restoring forgotten histories. He loved the smell of old paper, the quiet rhythm of his craft. His shop was a haven of calm order, and Elias was kind. He'd offer tea to weary students, listen patiently to the ramblings of old Mr. Finch next door, donate silently to the orphanage fund. His goodness wasn't loud. It was the quiet hum of a well-oiled machine, reliable, comforting. He believed deeply in the inherent decency of people, in the natural order of things tending towards the light. To question that felt ungrateful, almost rude, a violation of the peace he cultivated Outside Elias's window, the city wasn't always so orderly. Whispers drifted like smoke about families disappearing in the night from the poorer quarters, about harsh new edicts from the distant capital, about men in plain coats asking pointed questions. Elias heard the fragments like discordant notes in his symphony of calm. Mrs. Gable, who ran the flower stall, would sometimes lean in, her voice hushed with fear, eyes darting. They took the Levinsons, Elias. Just gone. For what? Owning that pamphlet? Elias would pat her hand, his touch gentle as when handling vellum. There, Mrs. Gable. Surely a misunderstanding. The authorities, they must have their reasons. We shouldn't jump to conclusions. He'd offer her a biscuit, a distraction. He couldn't bear the fear in her eyes. It threatened the equilibrium of his world. He'd return to his binding, the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of his press, a soothing mantra against the unsettling noise. Focus on the mending. Focus on the good. His kindness wasn't malicious. It was protective. A shield against the ugliness he sensed, but wouldn't confront. When young Thomas, the apprentice from the troubled South Side, stopped showing up, Elias assumed the boy had found better prospects, or perhaps fallen into laziness. He felt a pang of disappointment, yes, but also a quiet relief. Thomas had brought questions, worries, attention Elias preferred not to house within his peaceful shop. He didn't inquire. To inquire might lead down paths best left untrodden, paths that could shatter the carefully constructed peace. His silence wasn't agreement with the men in plain coats. It was a profound, almost sacred commitment to the absence of conflict. He curated his garden, pruning away anything thorny or unsettling, believing that by nurturing only the beautiful blooms, the rot couldn't possibly take hold. He mistook the absence of thorns for the presence of health. But rot works silently. It doesn't need permission. It needs only the absence of light, the refusal to dig. One gray afternoon, men came. Not for Elias, but for Mr. Finch. They were efficient, impersonal. Elias watched from his shop window, his hands suddenly cold and clumsy. A half-bound volume forgotten on his bench. Mr. Finch, his old friend who talked too much about pigeons and the old days, was being led away, his face ashen, bewildered. Elias felt a surge of nausea, a primal urge to rush out, to demand, why? But the fear was a physical thing, cold and heavy in his stomach. And beneath the fear, a more insidious whisper. What good would it do? You're just one man. You have your shop, your reputation, your peace to keep. Surely they have their reasons. The thought was a reflex, a well-worn path in his mind. He stayed behind the glass, his knuckles white where they gripped the workbench. He looked down. The book he'd been binding was a collection of folk tales. One story, open on the press, spoke of a village that ignored the slow creep of a shadow until it swallowed them whole. Elias quickly closed the book, the thump unnaturally loud in the sudden silence of the shop. The rot wasn't just outside anymore. It had found root in the fertile soil of his own cherished silence, his own cultivated peace. His kindness had built walls so high he couldn't see the darkness growing just beyond them, nourished by his refusal to look, to question, to disturb the quiet. He was not the architect of the cruelty, but he had tilled the earth where it effortlessly took root. The realization settled over him not as a scream, but as a chilling, irreversible quiet. The sound of a garden realizing too late that its softest, kindest soil had become a grave. And perhaps we all have our Elias moments. Not grand betrayals, but small retreats into comfort, turning the page on the unsettling news, changing the subject when a friend voices a fear that feels too big, too dark, telling ourselves, it's not my place, not my fight. I'm just one person. We cultivate our own inner gardens, tending carefully to our peace, our routines, our circle of light. And the rot, it never announces itself with a crash. It seeps in through the cracks of our inattention, fed by the gentle fertilizer of our silent complicity. The armor we lack isn't always courage to fight dragons. Sometimes it's simply the willingness to feel uncomfortable, to acknowledge the whisper of decay before the roots take hold. The peace we forfeit isn't the loud peace of victory, but the deeper, quieter peace of knowing our garden's integrity remains unbroken, because we dared to look, even when the soil felt soft beneath our feet. So we see how darkness can bloom in the fertile ground of good intentions left untended. But what of the darkness that wears no mask at all? What happens when evil isn't a creeping rot, but a quiet administrative tick on a list? Let's slip into a different kind of shadow now, one that feels chillingly ordinary. Chapter 12. The Banality of the Blank Page. When evil forgets to remember itself. What if the greatest danger isn't the monster who knows it's a monster, but the one who sees only neat rows of numbers, crisp lines on a form, the satisfying click of a drawer sliding shut? Imagine a sin not of passion or rage or even greed, but of immaculate administration. A darkness born not in the heart's shadow, but under the cool, clear light of perfect order. Tonight, let's step into a place where evil doesn't roar. It files. It doesn't hate. It alphabetizes. And in that terrifying efficiency, it forgets the weight of a single human breath. What happens when cruelty becomes a clerical task, performed with clean hands and a quiet mind? Think of Anya, not a figure from grand tragedies, but an archivist. Her world was the city repository, a vast, echoing cathedral of paper and silence. High windows filtered dusty light onto endless rows of cabinets, each drawer a tomb of forgotten details. The air smelled of old glue, dry parchment, and a profound, almost sacred stillness. Anya loved it. She loved the precise geometry of the shelves, the satisfying heft of a well-bound ledger, the absolute clarity of a perfectly indexed file. Her fingers, pale and careful, knew the exact pressure needed to turn a brittle page without tearing it. Her mind, sharp and methodical, found deep peace in imposing order on chaos. Names, dates, locations, they weren't lives, not really. They were data points, coordinates on a grid, entries to be cataloged, cross-referenced, and stored with the quiet reverence of a priest tending sacred texts. A shift occurred, subtle at first. New directives came down, not with fanfare but typed memoranda on crisp official letterhead. The repository's scope expanded. New categories emerged. New lists needed compiling. Anya's task, she was told, was vital for municipal reorganization, for efficient resource allocation. The language was sterile, bureaucratic, soothing in its lack of emotional texture. She was given access to wider streams of records, census data, property rolls, employment histories, all needing integration into the master archives. She didn't question the purpose. To question was inelegant. It disrupted the smooth functioning of the system she served. It was like doubting the Dewey Decimal System, pointless, messy. Her loyalty wasn't to ideology, but to the purity of the process itself. The blank page, awaiting her meticulous script, was her true calling. She worked with focused serenity, Her desk was an island of calm precision. Request forms arrived, neat, standardized slips requesting specific records. Family unit, Levinson. Residence, 37 Oak Lane. Status verification required. Anya didn't see a worried mother, a fretful child. She saw a surname to locate, an address to verify against the housing registry. She retrieved the relevant folios, checked the boxes on the verification form. Occupancy confirmed. No outstanding municipal notices. She stamped it with the repository's official seal, a satisfying thunk that echoed softly in the quiet, and placed it in the processed tray. The tick of her pen, marking the task complete, was a tiny, perfect note in the symphony of order. The Levinsons ceased to be people. They became a completed case file, a closed loop, neat, tidy, done. Sometimes fragments of humanity would intrude, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam, threatening to mar the pristine surface of her work. Tucked inside a property deed, she might find a child's crude drawing of a house and a smiling sun. Or, pressed between the pages of a marriage register, a single, dried wildflower, its color long faded. Anya would pause, her finger hovering over the fragile paper. A flicker of something would stir, a faint echo of a feeling she couldn't quite name, like a half-remembered melody. It was uncomfortable. It blurred the sharp lines of her task. With a practiced, almost unconscious motion, she would carefully remove the offending item. The drawing, discarded as irrelevant ephemera. The flower? Brushed away, a speck of disorder. The file must remain pure, uncontaminated by messy, unpredictable life. The blank page demanded it. She would take a slow, steadying breath, the scent of dust and ink calming the slight tremor in her hand, and return to the clarity of the list. The next name, the next verification, the momentary ripple smoothed, the deep, cool water of procedure closing over it without a trace. One afternoon, a request came through marked priority, sector consolidation. It required correlating multiple lists, residential addresses, employment records, specific demographic tags, into a single master inventory for a district slated for redevelopment. The work was complex, intricate, a vast puzzle demanding absolute precision. Anya immersed herself completely. This was her highest calling, synthesizing chaos into flawless, usable order. She worked late, the only sound the whisper of paper, the scratch of her pen, the rhythmic opening and closing of heavy drawers. She cross-referenced. She compiled. She created a new, beautifully organized ledger. Each entry was perfect. Surname, given names, address, occupation, identification number, row upon neat row, a masterpiece of administrative clarity. She ran her finger down the first column of names in the finished ledger. Aronson, David, Belkin, Miriam, Cohen, Eli. It looked correct, complete, satisfying. She closed the heavy cover, the leather cool beneath her palm. The job was done, impeccably. Later, much later, fragments of news drifted into the repository's hallowed silence, like smoke under a door. Talk of transports, of emptied streets in the district she had so meticulously catalogued. Anya heard the words, but they seemed distant, unreal. They didn't connect to her clean ledger, her precise rows of data. Those were abstractions, perfect systems. The news spoke of chaos, of tears, of fear, things that belonged to the messy, noisy world outside her cabinets. She retreated deeper into the repository's embrace, tending to older, quieter archives. The master ledger she created, it was simply filed under R for redevelopment. Just another record in the endless, orderly silence. Anya remained calm, efficient, her hands clean, her conscience blank. She hadn't hurt anyone. She hadn't shouted or hated. She had simply made a list. The most profound evil she committed wasn't an act of violence, but an act of forgetting. Forgetting that every single entry on her pristine blank page had once been a heartbeat, a laugh, a hand holding another hand in the dark. She forgot to remember them as human, and in that forgetting, she became the perfect, indispensable instrument of a darkness that required no monsters, only clerks. And perhaps we all have our inner archivist, the part of us that seeks refuge in procedure, in the cold comfort of the task, when the world outside feels too loud, too painful, too complex. When faced with the suffering of others, do we sometimes retreat into the neat compartments of our own lives? Do we turn the human story into a statistic, a news headline, a problem on a spreadsheet, something to be managed, not felt? The blank page beckons with its promise of order, free from the messy ink blots of empathy. The armor we lack isn't against overt cruelty, but against the slow numbing of our own hearts, the ease with which we can file away inconvenient truths. The peace we gain isn't the sterile peace of the archive, but the deeper, more demanding peace of keeping the human connection alive, even when remembering hurts, even when the ledger demands a name. We must never let it forget the face, the breath, the fragile, irreplaceable life behind it. For the moment we see only the blank page is the moment we become truly lost. Anya found solace in forgetting the human cost. But what of the darkness we actively project outwards? What if the monsters we fear most in the shadows are born from the hungers we refuse to name within ourselves? Let's wander now into a deeper, more primal kind of mirror,